Hello and welcome to the Georgia's Live podcast. I am your host, Travis Smith. The Georgia's Live podcast is the official podcast of Georgia's Majestic Lounge, a music venue located on Dixon Street in Fayetteville, Arkansas. You can go online to georgiaslive.com to see what concerts are happening there, as well as purchase tickets for those concerts. And you can follow us on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Georgia's Majestic Lounge and on Twitter at Georgia's Majestic. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Today on the show, we have the boys in modeling, and they have been on here before. They're a few of my favorite people to talk to around town. They make incredible art, incredible music, and amazing films, and we're going to get into that, as well as their new single out called Nothing Unexpected. We're going to let them describe in their own words this new single release, and we also talk about the thought process behind how they create their music and how they release it and all kinds of cool stuff. So here is Modeling on the Georgia's Live podcast. I am here with Modeling. What's up, guys? How are you?
Hey, Travis. How's it going?
What's up?
Good. It's good to have you guys back on here again to talk about your new release. We'll jump into that in just a second. What have you guys been up to other than kind of getting this thing ready? I know you've been working hard to get ready for the release and stuff like that, but you know, you guys were on the podcast before. What have you guys been up to in the last year and a half or so?
The release.
The release. Yeah, we've had a couple of releases. I think it's been about 7 months, or I think
Is that how long?
Yeah, something like May or something. I can't even remember. But yeah, we put out that track back then, which was Lodestone. Then we put out a second single, which was Low Fantasy, and then this single, Nothing Unexpected, just came out 3 days ago. We've just been working on the release, honestly, creating the videos for it, the artwork, producing it, mixing it, and mostly like a lot of time in our studio is kind of where we've been spending our time.
Just working on the next piece. So after Low Fantasy was finished, it went straight to Nothing, and you know that's been like how long? Like 5 months of 5.
You guys all work on things separately, or do you guys really write together mostly?
It's both. Like we'll have someone will have an idea and they'll present it to the group as a collective, and then we'll listen to it, and then we'll share ideas in one room and kind of throw ideas back and forth, and then we'll take those ideas that we each came up with and we'll go into our separate rooms. Like I'm mostly in our studio, Connor's in his room, he has a little small studio set up, and same with Quinn, and we go and produce all of our ideas and try those out, and then we all throw them in Dropbox, even though we live in the same apartment, and we're just like, all right, the idea's in Dropbox, check it out, let us know what you think. And then that's how we share ideas. And then when things start to work, then we all come down here into the studio and record those ideas. And a lot of the times, you know, it's mostly me running the recording and stuff. And then I'll have Quinn come in and do a part, and then he'll leave. And then I'll have Connor come in and do a lot of his parts, and then he'll leave. And then we'll all come in together again collectively towards the end. So both. That was a long answer.
No, you're good. So you have this Nothing Unexpected is now out. Kind of talk about this track and what it's about.
Yeah. Go ahead, Connor.
So yeah, I don't even know where to start with this. I guess the song, or the meaning behind like the title and the song, comes from this period in my life where I was just kind of going through this interval of like hopelessness, this kind of feeling, because I feel like, you know, in life you go through these intervals. It's like a sine wave, sort of. You go up and you come down, you go up and come down. You're never just all the time happy, all the time sad, all the time everything's good, all the time everything's bad. But I was, in one of those moments where it was just kind of like a low point, and the feeling of just feeling like I had this, I guess, like, remembering this feeling of being up and having like a love and losing that, and just kind of reminiscing and feeling like I'm never going to get these things back. Like, and it is a little silly to think, to think that sometimes, but when you're down and you're kind of in it, it's hard. It can be difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel, to like think that like, okay, this is going to end. It's not permanent. I will come out of this eventually. But yeah, when you're in it, it's hard to see that. And so those feelings, that's kind of what the song's about. That's kind of where the title comes from, is just me feeling like I felt everything like I was going to feel. And there was nothing really new to look forward to. Nothing unexpected to, nothing new, no more surprises. I just felt kind of hopeless. And that's where the title comes from. And that's partly what the song's about, and partly about this, what do you hold on to when you're in that state? And for me at the time, it was just this sort of overwhelming feeling of like this nostalgia, extreme nostalgia syndrome. Like, just when you're in this state and you have no clarity, you have no mental security, like the only thing you can really hold on to are these memories of times that felt like when you had security, when you had happiness. And so you just kind of cling to those things. And so the song is sort of about that. It's a little bit of both of those things kind of melded together, I guess, like this.
Whenever you write something like this, do you present it to everybody and kind of talk about, this is kind of where I'm coming from and I'm feeling, kind of paint that picture in their heads too whenever you're collaborating on it? Or is it something where you kind of leave interpretation for them? Or how's that?
I feel like we sometimes do both, but I think for this one, I definitely like let the guys know like the overall mood and the feeling of this song that we wanted to capture, because it is a very the sound of the music and everything sounds opposite of what it's actually about. It sounds very upbeat and kind of happy and stuff, and I wanted to make sure that we portray that it was, that they knew what was actually going on. It's just inner struggle inside my head. And then like, yeah, I wanted them to have the mood of it and the emotion that we're all trying to capture together. So I think I explained that to them, right?
Yeah. Connor gave us a pretty clear understanding, and especially whenever we were recording his vocals, I got an even clearer understanding of, what we wanted to portray in the mood and whatnot. And I don't know, there's also, I think naturally, without even knowing what the track was about, I think naturally I always want some form of melancholy in our music, just because I feel that, and I don't know, it's just who I am as a person. So even though, yeah, like Connor said, the track was very upbeat and happy, I always feel like that needs to be balanced out, because that's not how life is, So
that's basically what it is, though. It's like you're going through this time that's not a good time, but then you're holding on to these things that are good things. So it's the mix of the two. It's like two things coming together. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So you put all this thought, and you put as you put these experiences and this real emotion that's inside of you into these songs, whenever you hear them later on, even playing, whether, just online, or whenever you're playing them, does it bring back those emotions every single time that you hear them?
For a while, yeah, because like I would listen to the track as we were going through the mix and going through, all the revisions of it and all that stuff. And yeah, it would make me feel like I would hear it and it would bring back all these kind of memories that I have. So yeah, for a while it did, but now I feel like a little desensitized to it because I've heard it so much.
Yeah.
As someone follows your music and they follow, through your social media and stuff like that, it's obvious that there's a very cinematic approach to the music that you have, and that brings, kind of talk about what you feel like that brings to your music and how you feel about the importance of that.
Well, I think it's the kind of like the overall, like, I don't even know what's the word for that. it's kind of the thing that helps us create the music. It's I don't
The
even know the
visual
word.
aspect of our music is important, and I feel like we take a lot from film. Um, we've grown up watching so much film and just being inspired by film constantly that whenever we write anything, any kind of music, we need that like visual element to help guide and push the song further along to tell the story better. So I feel like we didn't really do this that much with our past two singles, but we really wanted to hammer in that the visual aspect of it, just because we, just like I said, it helps guide the story a little more.
I think that, yeah, I agree with Quinn. And well, I think what Ryan was trying to say is that it is kind of like the backbone of our music. Like
Yeah,
it
that's the
definitely
word.
is like the main constant that runs through all of our music. We definitely went a lot further with this track as far as creating visuals and visual narratives than we did with our first two tracks, even though that's what we wanted for all of these. And for me, and I think this goes the same with everyone in this group, is that I'm like a huge escapist type person. Like I indulge in like when you watch a movie and you can get enveloped in the world and like feel like you're a part of this thing for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. You just kind of escape into this world. I really love that feeling. I just kind of I live in that. Like I love the world of movies and things and being in that. So I feel like that's why it's important in our music is I want to create that with our music. Like I don't want to just put out a song and it's just a song and that's all it is. And there's nothing wrong with that, but like for me, I just want more. Like I want to feel like the whole environment of that song and where it comes from and where it lives, and like I want to make visual images that go with this and just make it a little bit more developed than just one song. Because yeah, that's just me.
Well, for
And
someone that would be following the band, that builds so much more excitement behind what you're doing. Because, I'm sure, you guys remember going into like the CD store and like seeing CDs, that visual element of the packaging, and going back to records. And that's what makes them so cool with vinyl now, that visual element. And you can tell that, your music and what you guys are putting out puts out that vibe, because that short film, like at Arcadia Retrocade, did I say that right? Yeah, that's like one of the most awesome places, and
Yeah.
you guys captured like the vibe and the lighting, and the the video is top notch. And I know how much time that takes, that the acting scenes and just everything into it. You guys have put so much work into that. Kind of talk about shooting that short film, because that thing is awesome. That was the perfect like setup for the single coming out. It got me super jazzed about it.
Well, thank you.
yeah,
I
thank you.
appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for. Yeah, it does. You're right. It takes a long
It takes
time.
forever.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, but the cool thing about Arcadia is you can walk in there and it's already a movie set. Like there's not a lot of things you have to do. As soon as you walk in there, the set is inspiring and it's motivational, and like it just feels like you don't have to do a lot of work. But yeah, once you start filming, to make things feel magical and cinematic, there is a lot of work involved when it comes to lighting and fog or haze and stuff like that, and the shot. But yeah, like you said, Arcadia is just it's the perfect setup for that, and the whole nostalgic feeling too. You get that immediately, and that's kind of where we're trying to show you where this track is going. I mean, even to preface the people who haven't heard the track, this is the song that we created is something we've never really written before. Like the style of it is very different for us, so it was kind of a challenge. And we wanted to set the people up in the right mindset, so we used Arcadia for that. But Connery can tell you more about the setup and the shots and whatnot.
Um, yeah, I don't. A lot of the stuff is trial and error, but I mean, we had an overall like I had written an overall like narrative that I wanted to portray in all of the videos, starting from the first one, second one, third one. It changes because you get there and you see what your challenges are, the obstacles, like, and there's a lot of things we filmed that we didn't use, but the overall narrative was about this subject, this character, this guy and this relates to the artwork as well and the song, just having this kind of this, I'm not going to call it a sickness, but like this obsession with the past, this nostalgia sickness, syndrome or something, this obsession with the past. And because this character is so indulgent in the past and always kind of trying to relive these moments that were these happy times for him, it makes him a lonely person in the present. And so when you watch the three films, the first one is just kind of a setup, but the second two, like, they kind of show that these moments where this guy is sort of or the subject is enjoying himself, but then you see at the end that he's alone in all of these experiences, or what he's remembering. He's having these euphoric moments, but in isolation by himself. There's no one around him, and that kind of ties into the artwork as well. So I guess, yeah, it's a lot of work, but having the arc and knowing what we want to capture to portray that definitely helped with that process. So yeah,
it helps provide some context for the song that you're about to hear, and I think that's awesome. It puts the listener in your world before they can hear the music, and I think that's pretty awesome. So do you guys like film this yourself and you edit yourself or anything? You don't have anybody else doing this. This is you guys, right?
Yeah. So I mean, that's why it takes us 5 months in between releases. Like, it's just, I wish we had a team. I wish we had other people to do it. But I've said this before. We love Control too. We have a pretty clear vision, or at least for the videos, Connor had a really clear vision of what they should look like and what they needed to do, or what they needed to portray. And for our music, our vision is usually really strong. And this is a little off subject, but we used to hire mix engineers and people to finish our music, but we'd always get the mix back and it'd always sound wrong. So we just do everything ourselves, writing, producing, recording, mixing. And then when it goes to the visual element, yeah, I mean, he's the photographer and videographer that has these ideas. And then we kind of like, he shares them with us, and then we go and shoot them. And then, Connor is actually the star in the star, but he's the character. Sorry. That's a joke. We always talk about who's the star.
I'm the star.
Yeah. But Connor's the character, because a lot the lyrics and the thoughts are his. And so it only made sense to put him as the subject. So I had to go and learn how to shoot. And I've never shot video before ever in my life. Connor would do test shots and then show them to me. Then I would have to basically set them up the same way, but it still never turned out right. So like, it did turn out right eventually, but it was a lot of,
it was like hours and hours
later,
days and days later, we got a 5-second shot.
Yeah. So. Connor had to send me, the biggest moment was Connor sending me these classes that I had to watch, because I like an hour before the shot, I would teach drum lessons for 5 hours. It'd be 8 p.m. and I would have to watch these videos like an hour before we go shoot, around 9 or 10 o'clock at night, because we had to do these at nighttime, because we had to have nobody there and it had to be dark, just because that's the vibe we were trying to capture. And man, that week was terrible. It was it was so stressful, and I just didn't feel confident in anything I was doing. But we did it. We pulled through, and I think it turned out all right. And it was a struggle for sure, learning how to use a gimbal, and just thinking about focusing, and just everything was hard for me, but I learned so much.
And the world I'm in right now is learning about all that stuff.
Yeah, I see some of the stuff.
It is a lot to learn. Connor, talk about your background in that. Is that something you kind of learned yourself, or did you go to school for that, or where'd that come from?
I would say it's mostly learning myself. I did wedding photography for a while, and I've done a couple of wedding videos, and like 3 wedding videos back in 2014 or 15 or something. And so I just learned how to use my camera from that. But I would say a lot of it is it's just online courses and YouTube. So I guess it's not necessarily self-taught, because I had the courses to help me. So
I think that's self-taught, I think.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Going on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube taught me a lot, mm-hmm. And it's a lot of trial and error with lighting. Like I had just got a Godox like ML60 video light in January. Like I learned it that month, and I got Final Cut Pro that month, which I also had never used before. So we learned all that in a month and shot all these videos in the same month. But I knew exactly how to use my camera. I knew how to do all the video functions on that camera. So that was the biggest like advantage, I guess, is that I already knew how to use the camera.
I will say this though, Connor has had an eye for it for a long time, because we took a photography class together in the 11th grade, and I was a junior. I think Connor was probably a senior, and
I had to have been.
Well, I don't know if you were a junior and I was a sophomore.
Oh, yeah,
that's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah,
I don't know. Anyways, we were both in that class. I just took it because Connor was in it and my friends were in it. Like I didn't really think too much about photography, but Connor actually took everything seriously, and I'm remembering this now, because this is like, and he would get his photos. What was it called? The Red Room, when you get it developed, like all the film, like it was real film and stuff like that. And I think even our teacher praised him a couple times, and I just didn't even think about that until way later down the road, like 10 years later. It's like he's kind of always had an eye for photography, and I think he's always kind of looked at it in an art form way, and he's always liked it. So I think
I've definitely always liked it. Yeah.
It's the reason I ask. I think it's so cool when people are able to teach themselves something that they're able to bring into something like a band, and have that element to be an extra voice or an extra. I always think of, when I think about like talent buying and I think about booking and stuff like that, the first thing is like, how many senses did they capture, like the pictures and stuff like that? And then they hit you in the feels, and then you're like, okay, they have like a vibe and stuff like that. It's like a natural feeling that you put off. And I think being able to do your own artwork and put that imagery is like, it's such a nice tool to have in your toolbox.
Absolutely.
It's been very helpful to be able to
that,
to
and
do.
we can't afford to pay mix engineers, and we can't afford to pay photographers and videographers. Like it just stacks up, and that's another reason why we're forced to do it on our own as well.
How do you guys feel about the music industry, the way that everything is really singles driven? Obviously, it's something that works for you guys because you're able to build a lot of quality content in different outlets around a single. Is that something that you prefer to do as singles? Do you see that something being that you want to ride for a bit, or?
I kind of think we're realizing that.
I, for one, I really like this. Like we come from a background where we've done where it was albums. Like we put out albums in the past in our previous band, and I guess that worked for what it was back then. But I feel like now, because we put so much energy into like a release or whatever, and we put so much of our time into creating this one song, since we're spending so much time on that, there's a lot of downtime. If we were doing like an entire album of like 10 songs, that would be like a whole year of releasing nothing, like putting out I mean, I guess you could always make content behind the scenes stuff, but I feel like it's advantageous for us because it's a lot of our time with our work schedules and everything to like, okay, record this song, put out some content for it, then we get something out in a few months and then do it again. I mean, we want an EP. We definitely want the full thing. But it's nice to kind of have these singles because our time restraint and everything.
Time restraint, and like we said earlier, the videos and the artwork, we create all that stuff ourselves. So it just takes up so much time, and yeah, we want to do bigger releases. And these 3 tracks that we've released in the past almost a year, it'll be a year in April, was the first track we released. They're going to be a part of an EP, and we're actually going to start working on the last 2 tracks, I think next week or so, and just finish the whole thing up. And it won't be released as a single. We're going to release those 2 as part of the whole project. So this will be the first time we haven't really released a single in a couple of years. So yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you think about the whole single thing and the album thing?
I still listen to albums all the way through of my favorite albums.
Same, yeah.
I don't know if it's because, and a lot of the times it's because of stuff I like back in the day. And I don't know if that's because nobody really releases albums now, but like Black Thought put out an album, and I'll listen to that all the way through. If the people I like put out an album, I'm going to listen to it. I like the singles, like the way that you guys release your music. I love it because you guys, you do it in your own way. As long as you're being true to yourself, it doesn't matter. It's not how many times you post a day. It's not that the algorithm is no longer how much are you posting. Now I feel like are you being true to yourself and the quality of work that you have? And I think as we're in a place where, the time frame of a song coming out is so short, and the time that an artist can spend on a song is so long sometimes, to the mental process. And now being a person that, I work in the business side of music, but being an artist myself that does write, like I understand and respect how much time that takes. That whenever, like what you guys are doing, where you're building like I was talking about, putting you in your world, I think the way that you guys are releasing things is perfect. And it just happens to be aligned with how the times are, but you're releasing a product that has the full feel of what, like I was saying, albums and vinyls used to have, to where there's what color is this single? Where is this at? Does that sound like Arizona? You can almost hear like certain songs and it takes you somewhere. And when you have something visual that's representative of that, I think that's where music really is art, and you can really get behind something more. So how do I feel about it? I like to hear good stuff from my favorite artist at all the time. Do I like a good Manchester Orchestra album all the way through because they do 6 or 7 songs in a row? I think that stuff is brilliant when they don't do that on the other half. And that's something you lose with albums, is that whole feel of a piece of work. So I miss having that. But I think with you guys releasing your singles in the way that you do fulfills a void of something like that, because it's not just because of the volume of 4 or 5 pieces of awesome content. It's you've put in this extra like care and effort into your product that when it comes out, it really shows that you believe in what you're doing. And it's easier for someone to jump on board to give that a listen. And it's more so where people that's been following you get super pumped and can't wait to see what video you do, that with what photos and what imagery and what feel of the next song you're going to have. And I think you guys do that perfectly. And I think the more that bands kind of spend the time to think about how they're perceived from the outside looking in, and really think about how they're presented and how they want their fans to feel, and to put them in that artist's world of how they're feeling and thinking and understanding where they're coming from. I think that's very current and very now.
Yeah, I agree.
I know that's long-winded, but that's how I feel about it.
No, I mean, I thought that was a perfect answer. Like, I'm still with you. I miss the album too. I miss the storytelling of an overarching album as well. I think there's a place for both.
It's just, especially in times of pandemic, it's hard enough to be a full-time artist, even if you're on the road and writing, if even that's all you did. So I understand the time restraints. I wish we could just go sit in a cabin for like 6 months and write music. I understand that's hard to do, but I think you guys are nailing it in the way that you guys are releasing it. Where would you guys like to send everybody online to go see and listen to your pieces that you've released?
Well, I would send them to Spotify. That's probably the platform we use most. So you can just literally search modeling on Spotify, and Nothing Unexpected as the song title. Other than that, we use our Instagram the most because we are so visually oriented. So that's just modeling music. So that our handle.
I would
is
say
modeling
YouTube.
Music. YouTube is, we're spending a lot of time on YouTube. We put out probably 7 videos or 6 videos in the past month. I would definitely check out our YouTube channel because we plan to do some more videos pertaining to the song, actually. So that's just youtube.com/modeling.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for coming on the podcast and talking about it. Definitely have you on every time you release something. So thank you
Sweet.
guys.
Yeah,
you,
I
Travis.
appreciate the good questions, man. Those are great questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no problem. You guys take it easy.
All right,
You too.
all right. See ya.
Later. That was modeling on the George's Live podcast. I'd like to thank them for coming on. Thank you guys for listening. Be sure to go to georgeslive.com to see what shows are coming up, and be sure to follow George's on all social media, on Facebook and Instagram at George's Majestic Lounge, and on Twitter at George's Majestic. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, tell your friends about it. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.